Right everyone, it's Jackie back with part 3 of this Let's Decorate Our Journal. And unfortunately I've started without you. I forgot to press record, so I have got this far already. What I did was take an old Project Life card. In a moment of madness a few years ago I bought probably 100 or more of these, and ever since I've been trying to, they weren't really very nice, most of them, or not to my taste, so I've been using them up ever since as card backing, that sort of thing. So this was a 6x4 card cut down to 5.5 by 4 3/4. I then used a bit of coffee dyed paper, stuck my card onto it, cut round it so that I'd got a backing, and I've stamped that with a Paper Artsy stamp. It's from Paper Artsy collection HP1 009. It's not a rose, but it's the closest I've got to a rose. And then this is the image from my old design shop, and that's the front of my journal card. Now I am going to try and show you some sewing. Earlier this year I treated myself to Bernina sewing machine, which I love. Not their most expensive, but quite expensive for me. And I use it all the time. It's on my other desk, but as I've told you many times before, I don't know how to edit. And before I had that machine, I used this one a lot, which is a little mini machine. It's by a company called John Lewis in this country, but it's actually made by Janome. And it's a very, very simple machine to use and worked great for me for a long time. Still does really. But as I say, I go to my other desk now. So I am going to use this. So I've put it to G, which is the zigzag. And I'm just going to start at the bottom and go round. Disadvantage of this one is that it's quite hard to, I can't set it so that my my needle stays down. Sorry, this is really loud. Just go over the first few stitches just so that everything anchors down, because I like to cut my tails off. So the other thing I like with journal cards is to have them with rounded corners, and as long as I've gone in a little bit with my stitching, I can do that afterwards. And although it's perfectly possible to zigzag or straight stitch around a curve, it does take a bit longer and a bit more care and probably a bit more experience, but for me that works perfectly well. So now we go back to the inking. Said I'm sticking with walnut stain, and the back looks quite attractive as well. And to add even more interest to this, because for me it's a lot of it is about the detail in these books, I might decide to put a word here, a word sticker, and I might put a little tab on the side, probably a bit of lace just on the edge here, which I will either glue or stick, and then this will slot, hopefully this will slot into our book. I actually think a little lace tab coming out of there would be quite nice, but I'll have a little think about that and show you how I do it next time. And this is the way I work initially when I go through my books. I do initial sort of a blank page, something with a bit of interest, it's a blank page. This has got some interest already. I might decide to decoupage over there, but we'll think about that later. But on this page, which is quite plain, I want to do a little fabric embellishment, really. You could do something on a paperclip and make a paperclip embellishment. For this instance, I'm just going to have something hanging down, and I wanted to show you, I've just recently bought this chiffon, hand-dyed recycled chiffon silk ribbon from Perrin Yarns in Cornwall. It's not the cheapest stuff I've ever bought, but it's lovely, and I've got 10 meters there for £4, which I guess is about $3. Anyway, I've cut a length off to use in this book because it was quite scrunched up and I wanted it a little bit less scrunched. I wet it, just sprayed it with water, spread it out, and then just pushed it together a little bit, just to crinkle it back up, but in a slightly more ordered way. And that's what I'm going to use here. And I don't want it too long, probably around about here. So I'm just going to cut that off at an angle. And then I've got a little bit of lace, which is already at an angle, so I want that slightly shorter. And then I'm going to embellish that with some of the bling. I think I'm going to glue this in. Could stitch down it first to flatten it a little bit and then glue it in. Sorry, I'm just thinking about it. I hadn't actually planned this exactly. Sorry, I might have to just think about that. Stapling the top would be an option as well, but then I would feel I had to put something on the other side, and I'm not sure I want to do that on the other side of the page. So we'll put that together and I'll show you that when we come back. So that will look something like that on the page. And then the last thing I'm going to do today is on this page, because we've got this here but not here, I'm going to go back to my stenciling. So I've got an acrylic plate which I'm putting under there. You could use one of your cutting plates if you've got a spare one. I'm going back to our pretty stencil, and this time I'm using the slightly larger one, and I just need to stick that into the book. It helps keep it steady. I've got painter's tape here, it just helps keep it steady when I'm stenciling. And we're back to our cotton candy. Hopefully I'm still in frame. I quite like that little bit coming in there, so I'm going to do that as well. I had to shut the window because the traffic noise was quite loud, and now I'm absolutely boiling. I'm sure you're probably fed up of us people from the UK moaning about our heat wave. but oh, it is hot, and it's not a nice heat really. Some of it's okay, but you know, you have to find shade to sit in, and it's hard to sleep at night. We don't have air conditioning, and I don't have any fans or anything, so beginning to suffer a little bit with the constant heat. There's that, which I think, well, hopefully you'll agree that looks really quite pretty. Maybe add a bit of glitter or something to that if you wanted to at a later stage. So I'm going to finish there, and come back and show you exactly what each of the completely finished items looks like, and then we'll move on to the next page that we're going to do, which I haven't quite decided yet, but we'll sort that out. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye bye.